Next slide. Go to the next slide, please. Okay. First of all, let's go quickly for the demography of Togo. Togo is a West African country located on the Gulf of Guinea, and as you can see on the map, and surrounded in the north by Burkina Faso. We have in the east by Benin, and in the west, Ghana, and then we have the Atlantic Ocean. We have 5 regions. I don't know if you can zoom it out a bit. Okay, no problem. And we have 5 regions, and the capital town is Lomé and is located close to the sea. And then this is the maritime, la région maritime. Can I go, or you are trying to zoom it out? Hello, Georgette. The slides are not stable. Can you stabilize it, please?
Sorry, I was trying to zoom out, but it's not working. So I'll just let it go back to which one it was before.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I was saying that Togo has 5 regions. Région des Savanes in the northern part, and then followed by Région des Kara, Région centrale, Région plateau, Région maritime. We have 5 regions, and currently the number of inhabitants is 9,053,799 according to the World Bank. And then the population growth is estimated to 2.3%. You can just see how the population is growing and is related quickly to the energy sector. And the capital town is Lomé. And then the GDP is 9.17 billion. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. A small warm-up to get to know your background, to get to see how we can cover the few slides we have and the moment we have together. If you can just in the chat type what is energy, what comes to your mind when we talk about energy, and if you are in the field of energy, how many years? If somebody can just drop your messages so I might get to know each one of you for this moment. That's great. I can see some answers. Exactly, energy is the ability to do work. And in our daily life, we can't do nothing without energy. So to have various forms, and energy is everything. So I can say have it in various form, and then from heat, light, motion, everything. So, and what comes to your mind when we talk about energy? When I was not aware about the energy sector, when we talk about energy directly, I link it to electricity to me. When I was not so much aware about energy, without thinking that even my food was energy. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here we have some actors in Togolese energy sector. So those actors are coordinating the overall arena of energy here in Togo. First of all, we have the Minister in charge of mine and energies, which basically have the head over everything, decide be it policies, strategies, and regulations. And under the Ministry of Mine and Energy, we have the General Directorates of Energy, which is the technical institution which is directly linked to the Ministry of Energy. We have the Electricity Sector Regula Regulatory Authority, as the name also says, which regulates everything, like the decision decided by the Ministry of Energy. They inspect everything so everything can be put into place. We have the Electric Energy Company of Togo. Here is a government company but subjected to the rule of any other company here. And then this company is in charge of distribution of the energy. So, and also we have the Electric Community of Benin. This is a company which work for Togo and Benin, and the the company coordinates the importation of energy, have the production, and then the transportation, the infrastructure, the overall infrastructure in terms of energy supply, both in Togo and in Togo. And we have Contour Global SR. Here is an independent producer. Here they have quite some projects. I will present it later on. This company is in charge of, like, they produce and then they sell it directly to the public company, which is Sete, which distributes. They are just producing. They have some plant they produce and then they give it to the company called Sete. Next slide. Okay, main sources, energy sources in Togo. We have a wide range. As I asked previously about what's the energy, we have two types. We have renewables and non-renewable sources here in Togo that we use. And then we have some hydro sources with the Nangbeto hydropower plants with a capacity of 65 megawatts. We have also another one in Pime with 1.6 megawatts. We have some thermal power plants. We have the one coordinated by community, electric community of Benin, which has the overall capacity of 105 megawatts. And what I can say here is, like, is a bulk capacity, but they have their infrastructure spread all over the country, both in Togo and Benin. And Sete, this one is specifically for Togo, and we have the overall capacity of 25.53. And then we have it in the 5 regions. In each region, they have, like, most of the time it was diesel generator. I don't know if they change it or not. And they produce and then they distribute. We have Control Global, which is an independent producer with a capacity of 100 megawatts. We have Kekeli Power Plants, which is the new company, like independent producer also, with a capacity of 47 megawatts. And then for the solar sources, we have Blita Solar Power Plants with a capacity of 70 megawatts. And we have some mini grid which amount totally for 600 megawatt grids. And also we have, like, petroleum products which are totally imported. We have LPG, petrol, fuel oil, gasoline, and other fuel that are totally imported. You can see that that is the overall energy sources of Togo. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, here I sketched somehow the energy sector statistic. And on the left-hand side, have I said the largest source of energy supply is biofuel and waste. And the energy supply is the difference between the total energy produced or imported minus the exported one. So you can see that the total supply is dominated by biofuel, and those biofuel are woods, charcoal, and agricultural waste. So, and the largest source of electricity generation is natural gas. So you can see that's the main source that we are using here for electricity generation. Next slide. And here also, I'm just pressing on the points about the energy dependency here in Togo. We rely a lot on importation both from Nigeria, from Ghana. That's why recently we have some challenges, some blackouts, a lot of blackouts, because our suppliers didn't supply enough for us. So in 2020, the energy import was 58%. You can see it. And currently, the national electricity access in 2023 was 68%. So next slide, please. And here comes to the big one, I can say, the Togolese energy sector vision and ambition in ends. If I can sum it, net zero plans. So first of all, the government aim for the universal access to reliable, sustainable modern services at an affordable cost in 2030, passing by 70% by 25 is last next year. And under these points, they are focusing mainly on electrification because the electrification rate, as I said, is in 2023 was 68%, which is quite low compared to the other countries. And yet, Togo is doing quite good compared to some other countries, but they are not yet there. So, and also for the clean cooking sector, I can just recall back about the previous uh, clean cooking summit in Paris where our president Forest Osimhen was there and have some appeal concerning the clean cooking where he was calling all African and other sectors to come together to work for this cause because it's causing a lot of health issues. And he says about the subsidies concerning the LPG, most of the cooking fuels, and then the adoption of electric cooking. So this is not yet implemented there, but that is vision, and then he's still working on it. And the improved stoves also. And also another target is to achieve 50% of renewable in the energy mix by 2025. So they are still working on it to achieve this target. Both you can just see back that they have a lot of mini grid that they are implementing, and recently they announced like 3 other mini grids in the northern parts, and then they are also, I will tell you about the project that they are doing called CISO, where they are just spreading solar kits. And their goal also is to reach 200 megawatts production of renewable energy by 2030. And another thing is also to become an African leader in terms of energy mobility. And under this point, I can say that currently in Togo, there are tax exemption on both, be it batteries, renewable materials, hybrid vehicles that are imported newly. Yeah, tax exemption on that to boost and then encourage the community to adapt cleaner sources or equipment in terms of the energy transition. And the last point is to reduce the energy dependency rate to 30% by 2025. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, here are like I can mention just 2 projects about their target and their visions. We have the Tinga Fund for Rural Electrification. Yeah, the kind of subsidize instead of giving 100 francs CFA, you just give 1,000. So if you are close to the grids, they will just connect you to the grids. Or if in the second project, if you want to buy a solar kit, because they are in partnership with some companies here. We have Bbox, we have Soliva, we have Solar King, that they are in partnership and then they are selling solar kits. So from those both projects, you can just have your energy facility easily. Okay. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm open to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ignace. That was a very wonderful presentation and it was very explanatory. We really appreciate what you shared. I think for me, one of the things I would ask about would be the uh, EV. You spoke about Togo wanting to be the leader in electric vehicles in Africa. Could you please explain a little bit more? And another thing that stood out for me was talking about the LPG. Togo wants to be in the forefront and is beckoning on other countries to be a part of it. And please, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box and we would ask the speaker. Thank you. Ignace, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Okay, for the electric vehicle, you know, recently we have like the industrial platform in Aditikope and currently in Togo, like electric mobility is gaining a lot of attention, be it for like investors. We have like some motors, electric motors running here. So what they are doing basically is they are investing more for the grid extension and then the energy supply stability. So I can say that they are on their lead because they have been able to attract some foreign companies that are here operating fully. And then you can, yeah, because the time was short, 15 minutes, I can just show you some motorbike from both companies, well established and here, and then they are making a lot of money. So, but in the side of like manufacturing, yeah, here is just the assembly aspect. We have like those motors in the industrial platform at the Tikope where they assemble everything and then they support also the imports by the tax removal and tax exemption and everything. And concerning the LPG, it was not about the production because Togo did not have any source of oil or to produce LPG. But the point of the president was to subsidize. He was calling other countries to come together, to work together, to subsidize it so that like those who live in the remote area can afford it, can have it at the lower price so that they can just leave the firewood because the firewood is more accessible to them. They will just go and cut. But if it is subsidized and then we have the raise awareness about the issues related with wood cooking, they will stop and then they will start adopting. It was not like they will produce LPG basis. It was in terms of collaboration, partnership to reduce the price and deliver to the population. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful explanation. I guess it's very clear now, and I'm happy to hear that we're able to assemble parts of electric vehicles in Togo and we have electric bikes that are currently working there. That's good news. I think we have a question in the chat that says, what renewable energy resource do you think is the greatest asset of the Republic of Togo? And are there plans on harnessing this particular resource in the long run for energy transition?
Yes, the main focus is solar. And as I said, the, the, they are focusing mainly on mini grids and solar kits. So for the long plan for harnessing these particular resources in the long term of energy transition. Yeah, their long plan is to have 50% in the energy mix. So that's the plan currently they are pursuing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ignace. Does any other person have any question, please? Okay, if there are no further questions, I would go ahead to introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much once again, Ignace, for the wonderful presentation. And now we would have to introduce our next speaker, who comes all the way from Uganda. I'll share my screen quickly to just do a brief introduction, as I know he would also introduce himself. Please, can you see my screen? Okay. So today our speaker for today is Mr. Walter Osagi, who is the second speaker. He currently serves as the CEO of Walton Africa Waste Company. His role extends beyond national borders as he serves as the Environment, Climate and Energy Youth Advisor for Ugandan Youth Sounding Board of the European Union Delegation. Thank you so much, Mr. Walter, for this, and we hand it over to you now. Feel free to share your screen. Thank you. Hi, Mr. Walter, can you hear us?
Yeah, so I shall be sharing my screen.
Okay, so I'll quickly share it then. Okay. Can you see
So
my
you can
screen
just,
now?
yes, yeah, so you can just s- slideshow.
Yes. So
Yeah,
take further.
so yeah, so thank you very much once again for organizing the energy um, show today. My name is Walter Osgai from Uganda. Uh, Personally, I have three names, but yeah, my other name is quite long. It's called Etepesit. Uh, as you've introduced me, Walter, is a guy from Uganda, and from that small, from that country, from the eastern part of Africa, as you can see on the map. Um, on the left there is DRC, North, South Sudan. East we have Kenya, and so on the south we have Tanzania, Rwanda. Yeah, so just to go straight to the point, because I don't want to really take a lot of time, because we have to spare some time for questions and all that. But before I go forward, I want to know you whether each and everyone is getting me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Hello, can you hear
In
me?
Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so just like any other African country on the African continent, Uganda has different challenges when it comes to energy needs. And can you just go to the next slide? Yeah, so just like any other country, Uganda depends on mostly biomass, that is the use of firewood, basically for for the people to get their energy needs, and also basically that is firewood that goes into charcoal and also any other thing. So you can see that you can see the energy distribution of Uganda. We can see that 81%, more than 81% is biomass, that is firewood. Ugandans mostly depend on firewood. And then also we see that I think 12% is electricity, And then other percentages, we have aviation, kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, charcoal, residues. But when you put all this together, you will see that 90% of the energy that we use in Uganda is basically biomass, that is firewood and charcoal. And the other 12% then the other 12% is electricity. Then the other percentages consist of these other remaining energies. So yeah, so you can see that 12% of the country's total primary energy supply is 1% when it comes to electricity, according to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Of course, the households entirely depend on biomass, as I've said, like any other African country, and which is close to 90%, which makes up 90% of the cooking energy that Ugandans use, basically from the fossil fuel, from the wood fuels, that is basically in rural areas and also in urban areas. So next slide. Yeah, so there is definitely an energy security problem in Uganda, and where we see that the energy consumption per capita is 69.5 kilowatt per hour, which is just a fraction of the average African 578 kilowatt per hour and the world average of 2,572 kilowatt per hour. But why to make matters worse is that Uganda imports most of its oil, and yeah, even though Uganda has discovered oil reserves, it's yet to officially produce the oil. As of 2024, we have not yet started producing our oil, though we have discovered it, and basically we are on the process now of building our refinery and also having the pipeline built from Uganda to the coast of Tanzania, and basically to the coast of Tanzania. Yeah. So as you can see that even when we're talking about a just transition, a country like Uganda is just planning to explore their oil. Yeah, so Uganda is blessed with the River Nile, where we basically get most of our hydroelectricity from. As a country, we boast like I think we have about four dams currently, and they're all on the River Nile that are being fed by Lake Victoria. But of course, we also understand that the changing climate conditions in Uganda, such as drought, affects the water levels, and when water levels reduce on Lake Victoria, there is an effect on the electricity generation, which leads to load sheds and all that problems when it comes to electricity. And only 12% of Uganda's population uses electricity. Yeah, so as I've said, there is load shedding when it comes to all these problems, and because even if we have about 4 hydroelectric power dams, there are always high electricity tariffs that affect Ugandans, and that's why you realize that most of our electricity is not really, most people are not accessing electricity, yet we produce a lot. And most of our electricity is actually exported to Kenya and Rwanda. And yet the Ugandans themselves are still paying high tariffs for electricity. And we also have problems of load shedding, like places like in Kampala, whereby sometimes some places the electricity is switched off to accommodate certain places, such as the industrial areas. So yeah, next slide. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about also to bring in the climate change and energy nexus in Uganda. As I said in the beginning, that Uganda is just like any other African country, is vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. That is extreme weather conditions, high rainfalls, that all affect all these transmission lines when it comes to electricity, and power lines disrupting the power supply and cuts all over the country. and also the other problem that I've talked about, reduction in water levels. And so I was so we so currently what's we as a country that we are looking at, what we are looking at right now is that we are thinking of bringing adapting to climate change, to make sure that also we are reducing the dependence on traditional biomass, that is the charcoal and wood fuel, and also making sure that we follow our just transition plan that was made by the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. But as you understand that each and every day, the prices of charcoal are increasing. And so even the problem gets more worse and worse. And that's why you see that even the supply is increasing, and also there is a problem with climate change, so making everything just more worse. And so that is why we understand. I understand that reducing the dependence on traditional biomass that we are depending on is really very important. So, but that is only possible if you promote renewable energy supplies to the households, liquefied petroleum gas, biogas, and electricity. Yeah. So then also there's a problem of affordability, connectivity, reliability, and also the need to encourage the use of liquefied petroleum gases through tax incentives, and also the supply to other rural areas, thereby reducing the dependence on biomass. So as you can see on this graph, I was trying to bring in the aspects of the reduction in the aspect of climate change, how it's affecting the generation of electricity. You see that below here, you see that when the water levels are reduced in Lake Victoria or River Nile, you see that the production of electricity also lowers down. As you can see on the pink, I think pink line that goes down. Then on the blue line, you can see that when there is a stable supply of water and there is no extreme weather events such as droughts, too much, let's say let me give an example, too much water, flooding and all that, you can see that the supply of electricity is really blue, and it's consistent, and it's at a rate that is very suitable, and the electricity is being generated at a better rate compared to the rate that you can see down on the red and orange lines. Yeah, so next slide. Yeah, so when it comes to the renewable energy in Uganda, we have so many renewable energy sources in Uganda that provide us, that could be the alternative sources of bioenergy, instead of the dependence on biomass. We have hydroelectricity, as I've said. We also have the geothermal, and also we have biogas and wind. We also have a wind potential, although most of what we have right now is what we have mostly is hydroelectricity and solar. We also have some geothermal areas that produce very hot water. I mean, they are called hot springs, but there has been no much exploration when it comes to thermal energy. So most Uganda is mainly dominated by hydroelectricity and also solars, and also because there has been the market has seen a surge in solar products. So some households, such as in the rural areas, you see that most people are opting for solar instead of electricity, because solar you kind of save money, and so paying all the tariffs for electricity, it's better to go for solar. And also we have biogas on a lower scale, and also we have a potential for wind energy in regions such as the northern eastern region, which is basically an area that is semi-arid. In that area, there is a high potential for generating wind energy, although we have not yet started the steps to go there. So most of our resources are yet to be tapped. As you can see on the figure here, on the pie chart here, I tried to to demonstrate the different percentages when it comes to hydroelectricity, renewable energy distribution in Uganda. You can see that, as I've said, most of the renewable energy is coming from the hydroelectricity, which is 38%. And then we have solar. Solar, which is 8%. We have the peat, 15%, geothermal, which is 8%. Then also biomass, which is, of course, our main problem here, is taking a big percentage. So, but as you can see, that electricity is still leading the role, and there is high need for solar, but not just solar, but also very high quality solar products, because there's a problem also in the market currently. We have Chinese products that are very fake and solar products. So there's really, people cannot really differentiate which one is good and which one is bad. So yeah, then also we have biogas. So yeah, so around 50% of the total population of Uganda have access to any form of electricity. More than 4%. And then 24% of those 50% have electricity more than 4 hours a day per day. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so I was just trying to come up with the challenges. Yeah, so I was making this slide, actually. I made this slide today, and really, I was trying to come up with something that is really, that I can use for presentation today. So some of the challenges when it comes to biomass uptake in Uganda, of course, we have many people use inefficient cooking methods and appliances. As you can see, in most of the rural areas, people are basically just cutting down trees, cutting down wood, and just using it just like that. Then there's also high cost and sometimes scarcity of alternative cooking fuels such as kerosene and liquefied petroleum gas. High cost of electricity, which is only available to a small percentage of the population, as I've said, the high tariffs. So these challenges are actually the ones leading people to use biomass in the rural areas or in the urban areas. Those are the challenges that are making people to run away from electricity and to constantly keep using the wood and the charcoal. So the increasing population that is putting pressure on arable land, forcing communities and households to reserve most of the land for crop farming and neglecting tree planting. You can see that at the same time, when people are cutting down trees to use as fuel, they are forgetting that they have to plant trees. Inadequate government policy to encourage to encourage tree farming. Government has been really reluctant on telling people to plant trees. When you cut, you plant. Then when you come to the challenges, when it comes to hydroelectricity, there has been really, when it comes to hydroelectricity, the main challenges really comes to investment and also the high tariffs. So the private capital for long-term investment is very expensive, thereby making some of the investors to seek, just to leave out everything. And because of the high tariffs and the high charges, it scares away investors. Private investors is really, and also one of the other challenges that some of the lobbying groups, international anti-dam lobbying groups, have been lobbying for the halt of construction of the large and medium-sized hydropower stations in Uganda, such as Bujagali, citing negative environmental impacts and also publicity. Then there's also excessive demands of the private sector, such as sovereign guarantees from government force to bear the most of the risk. So government also has very difficult demands when it comes to some of these people who want to invest in hydroelectricity in Uganda. And so thereby scaring them away and scaring them away, and use by the time, and so when you scare them away, you realize the fact that they cannot no longer invest in your country due to the high costs of production, high costs of doing each and everything. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, so when it comes to solar, there's low levels of affordability in rural areas, especially due to high upfront costs associated with cash purchases. So we in Uganda we have some companies that are really offering people with solar energy, such as light lamps for lighting your houses. But sometimes they have their own charges. I mean, so they can say that maybe we are charging you monthly, we are charging you per week for using our product for lighting your house. So making sure you see when they come up with such things, it also scares the people in the rural areas that are not able to afford some of these products, and also lack of rural distribution of self-services centers uh, with appropriate capacity to increase uh, to make sure that the way the solar products do not work, do not malfunction. As I've said, there are some fake products on the market, some fake solar products on the market, and some of these people in the rural areas that do not really have this understanding or this kind of knowledge to differentiate between the fake products and the good product. So, and also at the same time, there are no shops or any other centers where you go for assistance or you go for, let me just say, for repair. If you want to repair your solar equipment, or you want to repair, or you get an assistance, or I mean technical assistance. I mean technical assistance. It's not there. And so limited capacity of the private sector to procure solar photovoltaic systems in large quantities. Yeah, so as I've said, the government, this is the government role to make sure that they create a sustainable atmosphere for the private sector, to make sure that they can be able to invest in solar systems, and also make sure that they upscale the use of solar around the country. So the population also does not have sufficient knowledge when it comes to solar PVs and also the source of equipment, making them just having no information about how some of these systems work. As I've said, most of these rural areas do not have these special centers where these people can get technical assistance from. So, but aside from the challenges that affect some of these renewable energies, we also have our challenges for the country, being a country that is a least developed country. I mean, being a country that is affected by debt and all that. We also have, as a country like Uganda, we also have economical challenges that are making us not to go. I mean, that are making us not to take in or upscale the use of renewable energy. Challenges such as weak, unreliable, and aging infrastructure in improving energy access. You can see that Uganda has weak, unreliable infrastructure. Even just electricity. I mean, the electricity infrastructure that we have in Uganda. Sometimes there are some defects whereby people, I mean, they're paying the meters, something like that. So it's really unreliable in a way that we have default meters. Some meters are not working. Some meters, I mean, they tend like to cheat people, something like that. And also we have middle agents in the market that sell fake products, fake meters. Yeah. So high levels of debt, as I've said, Uganda has high levels of debt, very limited public finance to invest in energy infrastructure, mainly renewable energy, and also the investment in renewable energy in Africa is really very low, and also Uganda. You can see that Africa only received 2.4% of global renewable energy investment between 2010 and 2020, but most of this investment went to South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya. Of course, leaving out countries like Uganda. As you can see that, as I've said, some of the policies that we have in our countries scare away some of these potential investors. And you see that they opt to go to other countries other than all African countries. Although we African countries, we say that we have the resources or we push the resources. Sometimes we just have good policies, but we cannot be able to implement some of these good policies that we have in our countries. And also the lack of political will to tackle some of the problems such as corruption and the lack of political will to invest in climate resilient infrastructure. Next slide. So way forward, what do we have to do? So way forward, the only thing that we have to do is just invest in microgrid systems and off-grid systems that provide a solution for rural areas, as the previous speaker has already talked about. Microgrid systems in rural areas and villages where the electrification rate is very low, particularly in solar energy solutions across the country. Yeah, so we need to really, there are this, in Uganda, we have some people in the private sector that are really into mini grid and also of grid systems, and they are developing them. But most of the support they get is external support. They don't have any support from government. So they are doing this like mostly like company, just like under the company or startup, something like that. But they're doing it, all the support they get is external grants, fundraising, but they never get any support from Uganda. So if our government or Uganda supports some of these folks, I think it's a good way to go. So then also we need to leverage the use of natural gas as indicated on the Uganda Energy Just Transition Plan. Yeah, as a country, Uganda, we also have Energy Just Transition Plan, just like the previous speaker said. Their country also has, we also have ours, which is there. You can access it on the slide by just tapping there, and you can just access the Just Energy Transition Plan, which promotes a unified vision for energy development in the country, and also access to affordable and clean renewable energy. Yeah, so we need to invest in clean energy resources, as I've said, as a country, budgets, attract the investors to invest, because we have a potential of renewable energy, we have the resources, we have potential for wind energy in Uganda, in the northern part of Uganda, which is dry and there's a lot of wind. And also we have potential for solar energy, because I think we as Africa is a source of lithium. When you go to countries like the DRC has like source of lithium. So why can't we make the solars and provide for our people energy? Then also in Uganda, we also have minerals that can be able to boost some of these renewables. And also we also have dams. So we have like 4 or 5 dams. So we really have the potential to go renewable if some of these rates of electricity are lowered. And also significant financing to ensure that Uganda has a countrywide access to modern energy, while concurrently meeting its national determined growth, national determined contributions that align to the Paris Agreement. As we all know, the Paris Agreement, investing, of course, in off-grid, as I've said, and mini-grid that play a role in reaching the Paris Agreement goals of keeping the levels of greenhouse gases below, or the levels of temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius. Deregulate the energy sector, enabling, encouraging the private sector to invest, as I've said, attracting the investors. So because when these investors come, or the private sector engage in renewable energies, they can be a competition from some of the, like with some of the companies, like for some of the national companies that are really charging high rates of electricity in Uganda. So when we bring this competition, of course the prices will lower down, and also there will be increase in generation of electricity and other renewable energy sources. Yeah, undertake necessary legal and reforms to help mobilize private finance. We also need to really check on our policies. Even if we have some policies, I think there are some loopholes still in the policies, and also making sure that we establish a legal framework of reforms that can be able to make us an enabling environment for public and private investments. Yeah, but transparently. Yeah, I think that is the end.
Yeah, that's the last slide.
Thank
Thank you so much, Walter. It was a very long presentation that had so much explanation, and we're very grateful for that. And I already have one question before I start going over mine. I think one question in the chat that asks, the production of energy of electricity nowadays in the context of development still causes environmental damage, even in the production of renewable energies. Are these measures in place to limit, are there measures in place to limit this damage? Like example in Uganda, are there measures that put to limit the damage of renewable energy production?
Yeah, so basically, there are some measures when it comes to as highlighted on the Uganda Energy Just Transition Plan, and some of these measures basically we really have to, when it comes to climate change, we really have to encourage people, because we cannot stop people from cutting down trees. This is a traditional dependence of most African traditions, where people are just cutting down trees to cook and all that. And so the only option that we have is really to encourage people to keep on planting trees. So that as they are cutting, they are planting. As they are cutting, they are planting. So on the next on the other sectors like energy, I mean hydroelectricity, I don't know what really the government has in place to make sure that they are generating electricity with making sure that without affecting the environment. Yeah, but I'm very sure that the ministry already has that in mind, and so they have already thought about that. And also when it comes to I think solar. I think solar is no problem. The only problem with solar is that we have to mine some of the minerals to make sure that we sustain solar apparatus, so solar equipment such as the lithium batteries or some of the steel or I don't know the minerals they use for making the solar panels. But yeah, so it's really quite challenging, but we just have to try to make sure that we reduce the dependence on, I mean, the trees, because the problem is mostly the trees and environmental degradation, the cutting down of trees, the cutting down of land, I mean, clearing of land for agriculture, destruction in nature and biodiversity ecosystems. So we just have to make sure that we preserve our current
Surroundings, yeah. Yeah.
by
Thank you so much for that.
ecosystems, and also be able to increase the use of renewables. But it's
Yeah.
really tight something.
Yeah, what you said is really correct. We need to always plant trees as we are cutting down because that's one of the things that helps stock in CO2. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone and thank you so much, Walter, for your presentation. Thank you to Ignace and everyone who is still on the call. I know we've gone a little overboard with our time, and I know time is of essence. I can see that there are some questions, extra questions, but what we would do would be to share these questions with the speakers and they would give us their feedback so at least we don't take too much of your time today. And thank you to everyone that joined. The only extra thing we'd like to say is from Margaret's side, you're free to join us every Saturday by the same time. We have this series from different countries that join us. So next week we also have same time we have countries like Tanzania and another country that'll be a surprise to you by next week. And please follow us on all our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, from now known as X, where we would share updates about this and also we would also post our upcoming events and any other thing. And you can also reach out to us on social media. You can reach out to us on our email where we would also share some contacts and newsletters. And at the end of this series, we would have a white paper out, and please look forward to that. Without further ado, and on behalf of the team of Magrill, we would like to say thank you, especially to the speakers and to everyone that joined. We are very grateful, and we look forward to seeing you same time next week.